It's 7 tips for highly effective Hydra teams. Hello, everyone. Bront, CatHerder here. We're having some fun talking Raid Shadow Legends, and today we are talking Hydra. Because regardless of where your account is, everyone is looking to improve their damage in Hydra. Either you're looking to maybe move up and do a higher level, or maybe you're just looking to do better in Hydra Clash. Maybe you just want to do some personal bests. Maybe you're looking to get that one key that you weren't getting beforehand. There's all kinds of reasons to want to improve how much damage you're doing in Hydra. So I wanted to share some of my biggest tips and tricks. It's not really anything top secret here, but some stuff that will help you up your damage in Hydra. But you know what can really up my spirits? Smash that subscribe button and like this video. Definitely appreciate it. It helps me grow the channel so I can make more of these videos. But let's get into talking about Hydra. First tip may seem kind of simple, but it's straightforward and it's very helpful. Buff your champions. Things like increased defense and increased attack can add a ton of damage. Increased crit damage, if you can find it, can certainly help you increase your damage as well. Something like increased speed can help because taking more turns will do more damage. Other things you can certainly do to buff your champions. Good auras can very help. Extra speed, extra attack, extra defense, even extra HP, all can help you do damage by surviving longer, possibly increasing the damage stat, or increasing your speed so you're hitting harder. Plus, a lot of that stuff also helps your support champions keep your stuff alive a little bit better. Taking extra turns, help you survive that extra hit, all kinds of good stuff. 30% extra crit damage is great. It's a huge, huge thing of damage. The 50% to 60% extra damage from a stat increase is also huge. And again, that multiplies through the crit damage or vice versa. And you can compound these things by doing both. 30% speed, again, adds all kinds of speed to your teams. These numbers all add up. So I've got Mithrala right here just as an example. She's got increased defense and increased attack on a single skill. That can help you a ton. There's plenty of champions that help you buff your team. Don't forget about your buffs. Again, the second one, fairly basic, but it's still important to mention, debuff the heads. You've got your options for decreased defense, you've got weaken, you've got all kinds of fun options too. Decreased speed can definitely help as well. Decreased speed gives you additional time to attack the heads, just like increased speed as well. There's all kinds of other cool things you can do with the debuffs. Obviously, decreased defense is huge because the Hydra heads have a huge amount of defense, a lot more than most of the bosses in the game. Weaken also helps. That's additional 25% more damage in almost every way, shape, or form. Hex is another good example of a debuff that can add additional damage. Hex adds an additional 2% for AoE buffs per other champion that takes it, so basically you're getting an extra 6% extra damage on your AoEs per head. And if you're doing a single target, it is a 10% extra. So those huge max HP hits, particularly somebody like Newt, well, if you've got a Hex out there, you're going to get 10% of that max HP hit on every other head, possibly. Hex is a lot of extra damage. It adds up quickly. It works on every single way that they take damage, including things like burns and stuff like that. Finally, as I mentioned, decreased speed, another buff that actually gets overlooked that can actually help you deal damage is Leech. Leech keeps your nukers alive by helping them heal by the amount of damage they're doing. And that what seems like it's not going to help you directly with damage. What it does, it takes some pressure off your support champions. So your support champions could maybe be a little less supporty and a little more damagey, or maybe they can help bring more damage rather than bring more support and being able to stay alive. Leech is an important debuff for Hydra. It's definitely helpful and will help you do more damage overall. Burns and poisons have a place in Hydra. Poisons can do quite a bit of damage to Suffering because he has so much max HP that even with a reduced amount of damage from poisons, he's still taking big hits from the poisons. Poisons can only affect 3 of the heads, so they're not the greatest debuff, and they can stack up, so you have to be careful with them so they don't prevent other more valuable debuffs, but poisons are a way to do damage. Burns, meanwhile, are a much better way to do damage with debuffs. Burns help you with the poison cloud because you can hit their poison cloud if somebody's burning, and burns effectively do AoE damage to every head. So that becomes every time a burn ticks, every head that's out there is taking about 20k HP damage. May not sound like a lot, but if you can get 50 ticks, that can be a lot of damage, and it's per head. Plus, if you have Curse, that can also factor in as well. So Hex can add all kinds of extra damage. Burns can catapult your damage up quite a bit. Plus, since they help you ignore the poison cloud, they're another way to make sure you're doing damage rather than bouncing off a poison cloud. So definitely focus on getting some burns out there if you can. Make strategic use of poisons. It's a great way to do damage. And if you can ignite the burns, that's even better, because igniting the burns basically gives you a bunch of extra free damage on your terms. Leveraging your sets can help you do a lot of damage. Once you're getting into Hydra, especially once you're progressing onto Brutal, you should start looking at sets as much as you're looking at the stats, because oftentimes the sets can make a champion just as much as the stats can. For direct damage dealers, you're often looking for things that ignore defense, because those can be huge damage increases. Your Savages, your Cruels, your Lethal, and your Merciless are the free-to-play ones, although Merciless is certainly hard to get at the moment. Slayer and Instinct were there for the Forge Pass. They also can help you in a lot of ways, both ignoring defense and possibly give you some extra speed. Other sets that can definitely help are sets like Relentless, which can help give you extra turns, especially for those max HP champions. Sometimes that extra turn can be worth more than just ignoring the defense. It really depends on the max HP hit. And even for damage dealers that can do quite a bit of damage, but also bring a bunch of other things to the table, Relentless can be very helpful. Reflex set's very good because that can help reset some of your high damage abilities. Impulse set can do that as well, and that's only a 2-piece set, so that can help quite a bit. Refresh accessories, something you can buy from the 3v3 market. They can help a ton because they can prevent skills from going on cooldown. They're also useful on your support champions, but if you can get them on your attack champions, they can do a lot of damage and be very helpful. Curse set is another one that you can leverage. Curse set honestly goes more on your support champions than your damage dealers, but Curse set gives you somebody that can put Hex up for free without needing accuracy, so they can go on all kinds of different champions, whether it be a champion that's not going to land any debuffs but is constantly doing AoEs, or a champion that can do some debuffs and you're using for something else as well, and you can get Curse on them. That's great. But it doesn't have to be your damage dealers, which make Curse an easier set to build for. Finally, any set that provides additional speed, protections, things that help protect your team or get your team to survive can definitely help as well. Or just things that help you increase your stats. So things that give you additional attack, additional HP, regeneration, all kinds of things that can help you improve your damage or stay alive so you can continue to do more damage. You need to focus on your builds. Builds are important for damage dealers, and for the most part, you're looking for a couple of core things. You're looking for at least a 100% crit rate. You're generally looking for crit damage gloves on anybody that is dealing direct damage or max HP damage. You are generally dealing for direct damage dealers. You're looking for a chest that's going to have an HP percent in their damage stat because you want to stack their damage stat up. Boots, you also want the same with a damage set, and you're generally going to want speed subs in your boots because you're giving up having speed for getting that speed stat. If you're talking about a max HP hitter, you can sometimes have just a defense or an HP chest, and you don't even need the additional stats. Sometimes the defense is an extra stat or an HP is the extra stat, so you're in great shape there. You're going to want some speed on that as well. And the boots you can do just plain speed because you want a max HP hitter going more often, constantly. Generally, as far as the speed is concerned, you're looking for at least 180 on normal and at least 225 on nightmare for your general minimum for damage dealers. You're honestly looking for closer to 200 to 250, depending on where you're at in Hydra. You definitely want enough accuracy if you're landing champs. Like I've got Michinaki here. You'll see Michinaki has enough accuracy to move all the way up to Nightmare. He's at almost 300, 300. He's almost 240 speed. He's got over 5k defense. He's got a bunch of HP to stay alive as well. He's got the max crit rate and a ton of crit damage. He's built very well. He's very tanky, and he'll do a lot of damage. And he does damage both with burns, both with hex, and with the direct damage. So you want to get a little bit of all of that in there. So, maybe you can't get some of these champions into some of your Savage or Cruel. And in fact, my Nichinaki is not in Savage or Cruel. He's in mostly accuracy stuff because he needs a bunch of stats. But he will still do a ton of damage in Hydra with this build. Other things to certainly look at. Again, we talked about building them in the right sets beforehand. And finally, use your Ascensions to build your Hydra champions. Ascensions are a great way to get free extra stats. Even if all you're doing is level 1 Ascension, level 2 Ascension, level 3 Ascension, because you're not farming all the top ones, even just a little bit of extra stats on those early ones can be incredible. A little extra speed here, a little extra crit damage there, a little extra attack or HP there, a little extra accuracy. It all adds up. Now, I know I'm going to catch a little bit of flack for this one, but do Arena. It sounds rough because I know there's a lot of people that do not like Arena, that don't like the PvP aspect of the game, but classic Arena affinity bonuses are big. 20% extra on stats, 25% extra crit damage, 80% extra accuracy. It's free stats everywhere. So not just for Hydra. It helps your account absolutely everywhere, makes the game easier for you. It's worth building. Live Arena, which is obviously a little bit harder, this is where you want to look at your Hydra stats as well. If you don't go for everything, don't go for everything. And you don't necessarily have to dive really hard into a live arena. But ignore defense is huge, even if all you're getting is that 6%. And the 6% you can get by just getting some bronze medals. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult. Get a couple of these other ones. Do a little bit of live arena here, do a little bit of live arena there. It's for the Marius missions as well. You don't have to spend your life doing live arena. Maybe just do it once a week, get a couple of things, and take your lumps and be done with it. But just investing a little bit of time to get those extra shields, to get those extra stuff, this 18% extra that I've got for ignore defense in Hydra is huge. Helps me a ton, and it's the reason why I'm doing big damage in my clan, whereas people that don't have these things are struggling to even get to Nightmare. Sometimes they're even struggling to get to Brutal. The fact that this is to every champion helps everybody do more damage. And the final tip, don't run on auto like I'm doing right now. Sure, we'd all like to be able to fire and forget our Hydra teams, and that was actually great when you could build a Hydra team and you weren't doing some of the competitiveness of Hydra Clash, and you're not worried about some of these extra stuff you're going to get. But if you're looking to do more damage in Hydra, you need to do auto. If you're looking to do more damage in Hydra, you need to not run it on auto. The AI is not bad, and you can program it to do okay, but the AI doesn't do everything you do. It doesn't understand occasionally it needs to hold off an extra cooldown for a particular ability. It doesn't realize that maybe you need to make sure you get decreased defense up before you do your big smack. It doesn't realize that that head over there has eaten somebody and I need to attack it over something else. It doesn't understand that maybe I shouldn't revive somebody this turn because I need to do something else, or maybe I should revive them rather than do my provoke because somebody's been provoked already. There's all kinds of things that the auto just doesn't do that if you manual Hydra, you can do. It'll help you do an awful lot of damage. It will actually oftentimes double your damage, if not more. I know this team that I've got right here, I can run it on auto and I can get about 250 million on hard. If I run it manually, I get 400 million minimum. I've gotten 500, I've gotten 600 million with this team, and I average about 250 if I run it on auto. Big, big, big difference. And there's not a lot of stuff you can really do about it. The AI is only so good. It's always going to run the same skills in the right order. It doesn't know who to target when you have a single target specifically. It tries to do its best, but it's not always going to hit whoever it needs to hit. So make sure you're doing some of the stuff on manual, particularly if you're struggling. Now, if all you're trying to do is your one key and you've got a team on auto that does your one key, or maybe you don't have time this week, you know what? Go ahead, do auto. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you, if you're looking to do damage, running an auto is a way to not do it. Hopefully this has been very helpful. You know, learning about Hydra is definitely one of the ways that you can actually do more damage as well. So if you are interested in learning more about the heads, I've got a deep dive video. I'll put it up over somewhere over here. That way, I think. Yeah. And you can take a look at that video. It's long-winded, but it's a great video for learning all the basics of Hydra. Until the next video, otherwise, I'm Bront CatHerder.